All right, last one here. MVP.
Yeah, well, I've spoiled this probably about 12 times on other shows, but going with my preseason pick, my pick that has not wavered this entire year, maybe a little bit one time, 1 week there was, but I'm going with Patrick Mahomes for my MVP, my first team All-Pro as well. We gushed about him on that show. Every metric you look at, every eye test, of course, the highlight plays, most total yards by QB ever in a season, over 40 touchdowns, over 5,000 passing yards in 16 games, 4th most passing first downs in a season ever, 7th most if you just go 16 games, QBR of 77, EPA per dropback, anything you look at, Football Outsiders, DYAR, DVOA, passing success rate, everything, scrambling, just a phenomenal year from him. I think I said in the preseason pick show that he will be on a warpath this year, and it felt like that offense was on a warpath. I think he is the best player in the game, one of the best players I've ever seen, one of the best players of all time, and this was his year. Apologies to others. Josh Allen was my second pick, and then Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow was kind of tied for third for me because I'm a coward and didn't want to rank one over the other. But those guys had all wonderful years in different ways, but I thought Mahomes this entire year never let up. He never had that one game, even though people wanted to make out maybe that Broncos game where he had 3 interceptions. He was still phenomenal in that game. Stuff like that. He's fantastic. He's the MVP. Yeah. Preseason pick and now postseason pick.
So many of the stats are just wild. The one we talked about today when you and I were talking, we're just discussing that to be a great offense, it's about getting first downs on first and second down. It's not, you don't even want to get to third down. So I looked up who had the most first downs on first and second down this season in the NFL. The Chiefs led the league with 277. The Vikings were second with 244. That gap between the Chiefs and the Vikings is bigger than the gap between the Vikings and the Bucks. The Bucks ranked 18th.
That's insane. Like the difference. That's
1 and 2 is the difference between 2 and 18 in that stat specifically. And they were second in the league in third down conversion rate.
Yep.
So they're moving the chains effortlessly on early downs, and he can pull a rabbit out of his hat on any single third down that you want him to.
Yep.
10.8% of his pressures turned into sacks this year. That was the lowest rate in the entire NFL. He had the 3rd lowest sack rate in the league, other than Tom Brady and Jared Goff. Tom Brady's dirt and throws left and right to not get hit this entire season. And Jared Goff played really well, but Jared Goff is not to be holding on to the ball. Yeah. Mahomes, among full-time quarterbacks, so guys that play 50% of their team snaps, there were 24 of them. He had the 8th highest time to throw in the league and had the 3rd lowest sack rate.
See,
that shouldn't be possible.
No,
and that is who he is.
Yeah.
He is contrasting ideas that can exist at the same time, all of the time. And that's why he's so special. And I've talked about this before this year. I'm so guilty of this all the time, where I just want the new shiny thing to be exciting because I get bored. And that's how I've wanted to be with some of the quarterbacks. And I think a lot of us thrust guys into that top tier before they were probably ready to go into that top tier. And I think what I've realized by the end of this year, and what I'm more than willing to come to terms with, is that Mahomes is in his own tier. He is in his own tier of quarterbacks and players in the NFL. He is the best player in football. What he can do for your team on any given play, on any given series, in any given game is different than what everybody else can do, because the high level stuff is unbelievable. He's still ranked up near the top of the league in big time throws and big time throw percentage, the stuff he can do improvisationally and off schedule, but there are no negative plays.
That's it.
He was in the bottom 5 in turnover worthy play rate. He was in the bottom 5. He doesn't get sacked. Like what he can do, those two contrasting things that can exist at once. There's no one like that. Josh Allen is further in each direction. There are more negative plays. Mahomes just doesn't have that bottom to his game while having the top. And there's no one like that. And to be able to do it outside of structure, inside of structure, he's probably the best quarterback I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he played this year like that guy. And there's really not a discussion. Like there were really good seasons by Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts. And those are the guys that I would put right after that. But it was a special season from an all-time great player. And now we're going to start having a conversation about all-time hierarchy and pecking order. And you win 2 MVPs in your first 5 years and you play the way that he has and what he's done. it's not too early to start having discussions about peaks, 5-year peaks and 5-year stretches and stuff like that. Obviously, what Tom Brady has accomplished over his career is
It's
something
great.
that takes 20 years to accomplish.
Right.
And that's a discussion for a later day. But who those guys have been for extended stretches at their best, what he's doing right now ranks up there with anybody all time ever.
Absolutely. I'm with you. And AFC championship games that they've made where they make it to the final four. So it's not just empty calorie stats that he's accumulating. He's incredible.
And team success driven by quarterback quality, right?
Yes.
Tom Brady made how many AFC championship games and how many playoff runs, but Mike Sando did a fantastic job of doing this project where how much help are you getting from your defense and your special teams?
Right.
No one got more help from his defense and his special teams over, I think, the last 20 years than Tom Brady did. Tom Brady is great, but that team was incredible. Yeah. Mahomes is doing this with middling to bad defenses every single year.
Think about the defense.
That is important to point out.
Yeah. No, he lets everybody else figure themselves out. It's unbelievable. You're saying it right now, and it's so hard for me because I watched, Brett Favre growing up and then Peyton, seeing Tom Brady and everything. And it's just the control. Those guys, well, Favre was just chaotic, but Peyton and Tom Brady were so in control of everything. And Drew Brees, these guys were in so control, but that was just throwing the ball. Mahomes, watch those game-winning drives with Mahomes. He'll throw a sail route within an inch that shouldn't get completed. He'll improv a play, and then the defense plays 2-man. And that's the thing with Mahomes, does the improv stuff. He is so freaking smart that he'll recognize that coverage and go, I'm about to scramble. I'm going to let these defenders get deep. Okay, I'm time to scramble. It's a control. It's just his own way of doing it. And he knows how to turn those knobs. I'm going to knife you from the pocket, and I'm just going to hit you for 6-yard gains. Oh, it's 3rd and 9. Well, here comes a deep ball, but I'm going to put it right on the money and avoid a sack or backpedal. Watch him against the Bengals, even though it's funny, they lost that game, and people are like, wow, they really limit. Mahomes was still freaking awesome in that game. They're bringing cover zeros, and he knows it's cover zero. He knows where he's going. He's backpedaling with pass rushers coming at him and launching it and putting on the money to MVS. It's all that stuff combined, the knobs, he can crank up the improv, or he can crank up in the pocket, the intelligence, the arm angles. It's just he has everything. He
has more answers than any quarterback I've ever seen. I think that's the way that I would frame it.
His
is that
toolbox
he can provide more answers
right now.
To any question, to any problem you present to him, he has an answer. He was 3rd in the NFL this season in EPA generated on scrambles. The only guys ahead of him were Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts.
And that's when you picture Josh Allen, it's like, oh, okay. But the fact that Mahomes is get near him is ridiculous.
There were only 2 guys. We said this on the All Pro show. 2 guys in the NFL had more EPA on scrambles than they took on sacks. Josh Allen was one, and Patrick Mahomes was the other. And that speaks to the no negatives combined. And think about how many turnover-worthy plays and how many turnovers Josh Allen had this year, and then contrast that with what Mahomes did. It's just he's on a different level. He's in his own stratosphere, and this is one of his this is a statement season from him. That's how I frame it.
Warpath. Yeah. And what you said when you were tiering it, he is in his own tier. And I agree with that. We have grouped in other guys. Even I was guilty of this preseason, going like, oh, these guys are in the elite tier. It's this guy, this guy, this guy, and no, it's Mahomes, pause, and then the next tier. So it's like the elite tier, and then it's the Mahomes tier. And that's where he's at right now. And that's how he should be acknowledged. He's special.
We talked a lot about Josh Allen on the All Pro show and about why he was 2nd team All Pro. I do want to talk about Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts a little bit before we get out of here.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is a special quarterback. Like, that guy is going to be in these discussions as we get bored of Mahomes from year to year, every single season, to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I talk about extinguishing those negative plays. Even during a year where he was awesome last season, Joe Burrow took so many sacks. He took so many sacks. All right. From week 5 on, when the Bengals changed the structure of their offense after the disaster first month that they had, him getting sacked, he had the 9th best sack rate of any starting quarterback in the NFL. 5.3% of his dropbacks. So that part of his game he's thrown it out the window. So that was the only thing left.
He dropped to 2.5% from last year to this year.
That was the only thing left, is he taking too many sacks? Now the positives are there. The negatives are becoming fewer and further between. The way that he plays the position, the total control that he has, the way he plays on time, the escapability, how he sees things. I am so much bigger of a fan of Joe Burrow at the end of this season than I even was at the end of last season. And I'm in on like all like the swaggy bullshit and like how much that matters, like hook, line, and sinker. You got me. Like,
Right.
I think it does matter. And I
Yeah.
think that the way he plays and the way he carries himself, the entire package that is Joe Burrow, I am so far in right now compared to even where I was at the end of last year when he was my second team all-pro quarterback. Like, that guy is going to be in the league for 15 years. He's a potential Hall of Fame player. And I've been so impressed by him. And I think it's worth acknowledging the season that he had. He was really, really good. And Jalen Hurts had such a great year.
Mm-hmm.
And how central Jalen Hurts is to who the Eagles are, that's important for that. That's what I want to acknowledge. Like, yes, he's somewhat of a product of the talent around him, but the offense is a product of him. His ability to be that skeleton key player where we can run it, we can throw it, we can beat you in any way. The answers that the Eagles have and the flexibility that the Eagles have is in part provided by the player that Jalen Hurts is. And I think that's important. It's hard to untangle all that stuff sometimes, but I think it's worth acknowledging that.
And he's improved.
Yes,
for me, with
improvement is remarkable.
Remarkable, especially throwing over the middle and anticipating and all that. And that's where with Hurts too is yes, he benefits from the situation and everything. And what you're saying though is like it's just because the offensive coordinator did a good job of designing the offense, he shouldn't get dinged for it. They designed that offense that way to make, because they go, Hurts is really good at this shit. Like, he's really good at throwing deep. He's really good at running the ball. Let's lean into it. He's making decisions and all that. So he shouldn't get dinged for that. No, I am glad you brought up the Joe Burrow. The couple stats, the two that were notable, you already brought up the one, the sack percentage. The one for me was passing success rate, which is him just having those efficient plays, which is just so funny for such a cerebral quarterback to be more of a quarterback. And we keep laughing about this and talking about this. It's real. It's tangible watching him play, but also just in the metrics. It went from, he's 6th this year, but it almost improved 3%, which is notable. That's a lot of plays, guys, that he's just finding that efficiency. I agree with you. Watching him, that's why I was a little worried with him last year. Not worried. He was so great last year, but with Burrow, so much was on the go balls or him creating and running around and finding the throws, which is great that he can do that stuff. But that's why I was like, is this always going to be sustainable? But what he showed this year is that even though he was a high floor player, that floor is even higher than I realized.
Absolutely.
That's what it is I knew he would be that good tier, that floor would always be there. But man, it's great. It's really up there, that floor. And yeah, I'm with you. Burrow had a tremendous year. And of course, Josh Allen had high on the metrics. What he does for that team, we talk about value, what he brings to that team. He is the team. I mean, the defense is really good. He is that offense, for better or for worse. It comes and goes with how he plays, but that's the top 4 for me. But yeah, I'm glad you got to praise Burrow, because how he's been playing it's fun. It really is. It's really fun to watch a guy play quarterback in that way.